Patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv. Out! For those fireballs, Heartbeat City is taking your call, suffering. Duckfeed.tv. And now, from WDFD The Duck, it's Heartbeat City with Cozy Snugglefield. 'Cause somebody out there feels lonely, and we're here to help. Hello and welcome to Heartbeat City. This is Cozy Snugglefield. We're taking your calls, healing your hearts. Today I'm joined in the studio by Henry Gilbert and Bob Mackey of Talking Simpsons and What a Cartoon.
Hi.
Ahoy, hoy.
How you folks doing?
Oh, good.
Doing okay.
Good.
I followed the trail of banks that used to be Pizza Huts.
Oh, yeah.
Those are really good landmarks.
You got the email.
Yeah. And I also saw just the row of Pizza Huts on that one street. I don't know what was happening in the 80s.
I'm always worried about people finding the studio. I'm glad that's been so useful. Henry, how about you? How did you get here?
Well, I mean, I tried to walk, but there were just a lot of open sewage in the road, so I had to take a lift the rest of the way.
Came from the west.
Yeah.
West side, yeah.
What's happening on the west side.
I do want to hose off my shoes later if I can in the bathroom.
Absolutely. I'll give you the code. It's just 6969. We've got your questions here. We've got a letter here, actually, and we'll get started here. Hey, Cozy. I have a job that I truly despise. I'm not being hyperbolic. It makes me absolutely miserable. The worst part of every day is waking up and knowing that I have to go to the office. When I go home at the end of the day, I sink into a state of depression, knowing that I only have a few hours to go before I have to go to bed and start all over again. I don't sleep because of the stress, and that makes me even more irritable. This is obviously creating a strain on my marriage. My wife just wants to enjoy her few hours with me, and I do as well. The problem is, I just can't let myself stop thinking about the fact that I have to go in every single weekday to a job I truly hate. I've been trying for several years to get a job in a new industry, but all my experience is in this field. I even switched companies multiple times within this industry, hoping that the grass would be greener, but it's always the same. I've come to the realization that this is my life, and with the direction the country is going, I won't have the ability to retire. I'll be doing this job until I die. I've tried being honest with my wife and explaining why I'm so stressed out and depressed, even on weekends. She just doesn't understand and assumes that I'm overreacting. She tells me that everyone hates their job. She doesn't understand how bad it really is for me on a day-to-day basis. I tried hiding my feelings from her so I don't bring her down as well, but that just makes it worse. How do I keep my marriage going and my wife happy when I'm not in a position to feel happiness myself? With anxious anticipation, Hopeless in Houston.
Well, they didn't mention if they have kids, and that's a very important part of the equation. I'm going to assume that they don't because that would be something I assume they'd bring up in this email. But, I mean, Henry and I were there in that situation.
We've enjoyed horrible jobs we're happy to not be at those jobs. I've celebrated every day.
I've now quit 2 jobs that made me too depressed to go on living, and I was lucky enough to be with a partner at the time who said, I'll support you. This is a good idea. So... But
how do you keep a relationship going when even before you had the option to leave? How did you manage the relationship when that was such a big part of your life? I guess.
Boy, I mean, for this guy, I want to say that I think there needs to be a serious talk about how this is affecting you mentally. And probably physically too. I mean, it's all a big melange of horrible problems that are affecting your brain and body at the same time. And it feels like I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like there's some miscommunication here, and there are a lot of people who believe like, yeah, every job sucks. Suck it up, buddy. Like, work until you die. I don't want to think she's being that harsh.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the ethos of every job sucks. Everybody hates their job. Like which I think that is a very American thing of feeling like, well, yeah, work sucks. What you gonna do? Like, that's how it is. And not to put words in their partner's mouth, but I do think it needs to not be as accepted, that doesn't also fix your job. And it sounds like, the first thing I would have said is like, can you get another job? Maybe it's just this office. Like I had degrees of terribleness, like, at the website I worked at from 2008 to 2015. I was unhappy there, but I still had some professional fulfillment. And then I went to another website that filled me with only dread and unhappiness and made me hate every second I came in. And I count myself very lucky that I was able to leave that, but that's not what everybody can do. And especially like in a marriage, I wasn't in a relationship at the time. And so I could take a bigger risk of that. And now my husband, he really approves of what I do at this time, and I try to be there for him when he has a hard job too. But I sometimes worry about oversharing that stuff too, or sharing the anxiety too much. Like it is, a friend of mine also talked about this of like, you want to share things with your partner and be able to, talk about what's going on in your life, and your job is a huge part of it. But it's also like you worry. I definitely worry. Like how much am I now just making my partner feel bad because I feel bad? And is this fair to always do to my partner just because I'm unhappy at this job?
Right. Yeah, there has to be a balance in the amount of space each partner is being asked to hold for the other. And what it sounds like here, if we take this as a given, that there really is no way out, right? Like if Hopeless has tried very very hard to get another job within that same industry, this is where his skills lie. Like the two things that makes me think is one, if your partner, it is a problem if your partner is saying, suck it up and it's this bad. And if you have expressed it the same way that you express it to us, that it is that serious and that intense, then that becomes kind of a side issue. Like, hey, you have to actually listen to me. This is non-negotiable. Like we're married. This is my problem. It's a serious problem. It's our problem. I need somebody who can support me on this. We don't talk about doing ultimatums on this show, but it is a thing where, that's important. This is a need that's not being met, and it should be treated, I think, as such. The other thing I would say is that if there are no kids, like to your point, Bob, is this might be a thing where it will be worth considering starting in a new industry. If it is this bad and all your experience is in this industry, think about how much money is the possibility or capacity for happiness worth.
I mean, Hopeless mentions the fear of starting over again, and I don't know the specifics of your career, but like, this is just speaking from my experience, but there are, parallel jobs or related jobs that even if you don't think that these skills completely transfer over, they might. And I know the byline is hopeless, but I would say you could have maybe just a little hope that you could find apply to jobs slightly outside of that. And at the very least, I think the newness of it could excite you, even if it made you unhappy.
Yeah. And my circumstances are very different than his, but I can tell you all my life I wanted to be a writer. I went to college to be a writer. I went to grad school to be a writer. I was a writer for 10 years, and then I couldn't go anywhere or do anything with those skills. And I barely write anymore, but I had to find some other way to apply the knowledge I had to another medium, which is now it's podcasting. And luckily I was podcasting in a place I was writing at the same time, but I understand what it's like where it's like, these are all my skills and now what do I do with them? And that's the thing that makes me miserable. In my case, it was misery inducing because, as a writer in the field I was in, no one respects you even if you're there for 10 years. They're like, well, why aren't you a manager? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? You're still a writing schmo. So the lack of respect, the lack of pay. I enjoy writing, but I needed more fulfillment in a place that would let me have a living wage to do it.
And that's the tricky part. I think that a good takeaway from that is also that Hopeless probably has more skills than he thinks he does.
Oh, yeah.
You can probably make more of a side road that may not be an exact parallel.
Yeah.
Like it might be a pay cut that isn't the same as starting over, but it might involve some lifestyle adjustment.
Yeah.
But you probably have more skills than it seems like you do.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I don't want to speak for Henry, but I feel like we had a very bad job experience, but a lot of the experience I've had at jobs were very much like our last job, in which your bosses, despite their good intentions, they are there to make you feel lesser than. They are there to make you feel like you need us. They're there to disempower you, and I feel like that is just the management style default. And since we both left that job, I feel like we are much more confident people. We are much more proactive people. We believe in ourselves a lot more because there's not someone there to tell us every day, like, no, you don't matter, your skills don't matter, do what I say. Just all the demoralizing stuff that goes with a job. So I'm guessing this person has a similar experience in terms of just feeling bad.
Yeah, I think when I was feeding my depression a bit, and part of my hopelessness was thinking like, well, I'll never do better than this job. Like they're right. I barely can hold on to this job. I'll never be hired at another place. Like, and you just, I don't know if your bosses are intentionally doing that to you, but I do think like that fed into my hopelessness in getting a new job. But I also told myself like, well, but I can't, like you said to the pay cut thing, I also thought, well, but I might give up some of these benefits, or I might give up some of my pay. But I got paid a lot more. I got paid the best I did at my worst job. And when I left and was thinking like, oh, I'm making less now, but I would have paid that much to feel better.
Yeah.
Like, so you can't have it all, and that sucks. I should have been paid better and been happy, but.
And there might be, and just again, assuming there aren't children, because at that point you're responsible for somebody else. But if there are no children, when I feel this kind of depressed, especially about job stuff, it's because I feel trapped. You're very rarely as trapped as you feel. Like, I think that's oftentimes, kind of a construct. So I would say the takeaways, would be kind of moving forward is one, take a very hard kind of examination of what skills you do have. There may be ways to switch careers, switch lanes, even if that does involve some compromise. Two, with your partner, who is not understanding this, like that is a need. It doesn't mean I'm not telling you to go out and get a divorce. I'm not telling you to do anything drastic, but that is a need. That's a problem that feels endemic of something that will come up in, what if you were very depressed about something else? And this is the response is just, that's how it always is. For people, that's normal. It's difficult to be with somebody whose response to you bearing your heart is that's actually just how it's supposed to be. That's something that can be worked through. It's not hopeless, but that's something to work through. And that might be worth having that serious conversation. And then if that doesn't go anywhere, maybe even looking at some kind of counseling, I would say, just for that, because that's a lot. What you do at your job matters, and how you spend most of your time matters, and that's going to impact your mood, which is going to impact everything.
Josie. My name is Nicholas, and I've been in an online relationship with a girl from another continent for 4 years now. Our relationship is good and happy, despite being too poor to be. However, she is autism and tends to retreat into herself when she gets especially stressed. Right now, she's being quiet because an immediate family member has been hospitalized. It's something I can handle fine if this is what's fast. But as it stands, going days without getting even a time as she's alive really triggers my anxiety. I don't want to make her feel worse by telling her how this affects me when there probably isn't anything she could do about it. How do I cope?
So we had that call broke up just a little bit, but to summarize the gist of it, caller in a long distance relationship that is largely online, and their partner is having a problem with their family that is requiring a lot of time and energy, and is not able to have the kind of touch, is not able to check in. It makes the caller anxious, and the caller wants to know how can he address this and respond without becoming an additional source of stress to his partner.
Mm-hmm. So, based on what I know, I would say, of course, your needs are important too, but there's also a lot going on here. And if there's, I don't know when the situation will end or anything, but if there's some way she can contact you that would be more low impact for her, there could be some sort of compromise there. Like maybe when she has downtime, that might not be when you have downtime. She can write you an email or find some other
asynchronous.
Yeah, and I feel like this will not be a forever thing. It just might be something. You will just have less attention. Again, just more like low impact attention, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there could be a solution depending on the severity of the problem.
I've never been in a long distance relationship, so I can't speak to experience on that. I do think, when your partner's in like a family emergency type thing, it's just you kind of just have to be there for them until it's over, and you hope that never happens and you don't have to deal with it, but it kind of does. And it's just like I feel like, though, maybe this is my reaction to most things, you got to put your feelings in the back seat for a bit and just be like, you know what, this isn't my time to be sad, and hopefully, it's what I also try to think like it's what I would want in the reverse situation. If I was going through a really hard time of, a loss of a family member or close friend, something like that, like it would take all my energy to think about that it would be even harder to then think I wouldn't want to ignore a partner, but I'd also would hope that my partner would understand that my focus can't be on our relationship right then.
Yeah, and there might not be a compromise for this. There might not even be time to write an email.
It might just be patience, and we don't know exactly how long it's been going on, but this is the work of relationships, that you're being asked to do, is to be patient and everything. I understand, I think that like being insecure gets kind of a bad name. I think it's naturally to be mildly insecure sometimes, if you're used to like, you want some reassurance, you want that kind of object permanence to the relationship.
Yeah.
And I've been in that. I've never had a long distance relationship, but I've had relationships that started and were largely online. And I understand that, you get very used to that kind of check-in. A couple days go by and you just want to make sure the person's still there and you guys are still cool.
I think it's very human to take that lack of attention personally, even in a friendship where it's like, well, why wasn't I invited to that? Or why didn't they say hi to me? Or like, I haven't seen them in so long and they never invite me to things. So it could just be like a number of issues. It might not be you, but it's a normal human thing to take something like that personally. You shouldn't feel bad if you are. Right.
And I would say in this case, like it is, relatively simple as far as, because something's going on. This isn't a question where, your partner's just been quiet and you have a question mark. Like, what's going on. You maybe don't know all of the details, but you can say like, hey, I'm really sorry you're going through that. I'm here if you need me for anything. And then every few days, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And just be there because, like I said, this is the work. This is the work part of the relationship, and you want to be in a relationship where if this ever happens to you, to your point, Henry, like she would be there for you as well, or they would be there for you as well. Yep. And our final letter. I listened to many of your shows for a while, so I decided to write. This is obviously not my actual email or name. I won't judge you for reading into that, whatever you will. The reason I write is because I just turned 30, and in all of my life, I've never been in any kind of relationship, never slept with anyone, not even kissed anyone, or had any kind of spark with anyone. It's not that I am asexual. I do have a type, and there have been people that I think that have been into me, and people I've tried to engage with several times in my life. It just never happened. It's not something that keeps me awake at night, but it does affect me, and I do get lonely. Not trying to ask for pity of any kind, but sincerely asking for advice. Is there something I've never figured out? Should I just not care about it and go on with life? Fingers crossed. Should I stop trying and be as happy as I can? Anyways, thank you for the great shows. Keep up the good work. Yours in Maine.
Well, this one really speaks to me because I'm married now, but I actually barely had any relationships from age from my 20s into 34. Like I kind of, to go back to the workaholism or my work life, part of my unhappiness at work was that I was just like, well, I should only put everything to work. No time for a social life. But also it was for me, it was a self-confidence thing of just oh, maybe I'm not supposed to date. Or just the fear of a first date just froze me. And so instead I just gave myself to work. So I had a really similar experience to Maine here, but, I didn't give up, or I guess maybe to a degree I did just go whatever, I've got pornography and, and just deal with it. And it also felt like just, an easier thing to do, but the loneliness definitely got to me. And I think, I hate saying this. It is a major cliche, but it just kind of, for me, it happened when it happened. I met a person and they as a friend, and they came into my life and they became more than a friend, and it just kind of grew and just felt right. And for me, I don't believe in God. But I do, it felt at least kind of fated, or it happened the way it was supposed to. And so I don't know. I mean, you do have to put yourself out there to a degree, I guess. Again, another cliche, but, this is what happened to me too with the person I'm married to now. I didn't, he had asked me on a date twice before I finally was just does he actually like me though? Or I was constantly in my head of just no, this person doesn't actually like me. This person doesn't actually want to go on a date with me. This person doesn't actually want to kiss me. Just telling myself all these stupid things. And I needed a friend to push me to be go on a fucking date with this guy. Just do it. And it's been kind of just a whirlwind things from there. And I don't regret it at all. But if you asked me, 2 days before our date, I would have said, I'm afraid I should just not go to it.
There's real actionable advice in that as far as putting yourself out there, but also I think it's very easy when you are in that state, when you're very lonely. And you can get self-doubtful, and then you become an unreliable narrator to yourself. So you're going to start shooting things down. So having trusted people around who care about you, who are not in a romantic sense, who understand how this is impacting you and actually care, get your ride or die friends behind this, and having somebody around to be no, this is the signal. Yeah. Yes, this is real. No, you don't have to feel like this is going to be a candid camera. You're not going to get Ashram Ketchum pranked.
No, I mean, my story's different than Henry's, but as somebody who is single now, I have confidence issues, as I'm assuming this person does. Sorry if you don't. I'm not sure what it is going on here, but I feel the things that might sound, obvious are practical things that do work. And Gary, you're right. Do put yourself out there. I mean, these could sound very glib. It's like telling a depressed person, "Get confident, stupid."
Yeah, no. I mean, if I was back in my single days and hearing this, I would have just said "F you." I've heard that a million times. I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was going to say, again, these might sound glib, and I'm sorry if they do, but I would say do things for yourself that make you feel more empowered to, date people or meet people to get in relationships with. I don't know what you're like, but maybe try working out. Maybe that will make you feel better about yourself, or getting a new wardrobe.
Right?
Yeah, I
absolutely.
feel those all sound very, again, glib, telling depressed people to work out and feel better. It takes a lot to actually get the motivation to work out and stuff like that. But I agree with both of you in that I don't believe historically anyone has ever flirted with me in my 36 years, but it's I never pick up on that because I just have no confidence sometimes. And my friends will be like, "She was flirting with you." I was like, you're telling me now? I can't read this stuff at all. Yeah. But I feel like you need somebody there to be in your corner and to be like go for it. Because if you're so unsure, you're just paralyzed and you can't do anything. you will never make that move. And I will also say, like, don't, you can also, I think just meeting people and getting to know different types of people, you could meet a woman who you're interested in and then figure out it's like, oh no, this is a friend now. And like,
and Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Like that's great.
Yeah.
You know, that's okay. I mean, specifically the letter refers to, knowing, thinking that some people were interested in the past, so having that kind of, I mean, again, this is cliche city right now, but a lot of cliches are good for a reason, right? Like they became for a reason, like having a wingman, and not in the gross sense, like we're out to do prowling, but having a good friend who can spot some of those signals. If this is somebody who is straight and cis, like a lady, like have female friends and have one of them with you can spot these signals. I find
for sure.
That's like significantly easier. And one of the things about putting yourself out there, both of you guys talked about putting yourself out there. And I think that, the corollary, or not the corollary, the asterisk you have to add to that is that, you can't put yourself out there and then like that might be a long haul as well. Mm-hmm. You might be putting yourself out there for a long time. And then that could mean, going out and doing activities, things that you like. So then, it's not wasted time. You went and did something you like. You did it because you liked it, and you might meet somebody. Mm-hmm. Or if it's going out and meeting people in general, like you said, Bob, like you might make a friend. It might not be a romantic thing. That reconceptualize in your head that approach, so that is okay and even good. Like that's desired.
Yeah. Like don't be disappointed if it doesn't work or if you don't meet anybody, because you might not. The first few times you try it. But I would say, like, the more people you know, the more single people you will meet. And then, like, some people, I mean...
friends of friends and sisters and roommates.
Well, like going to improv classes or signing up for classes, like that really help. Like night classes, that's really where people meet each other. It's not, I don't want to project onto them, but it's also like a fear of like, I don't want to just go to a bar and meet people.
Yeah.
Well, that's
not what it is.
That's very fraught. Like, so like adult activities in the lowercase adult manner of speaking. And then also if you go through online dating, you might have a profile up for a long time. Get another set of eyes on it. Preferably somebody who is of the same like orientation and gender as the person you want to date. And have them take a look at it and scan it for flags, make sure you're not coming off worse than you are. And then that might just be there for a while. That might be, up.
Yeah. And, this also reminds me of Andy Richter had this humorous essay in this book called Things I've Learned from the Women Who Dumped Me. And one of them was his about like body confidence, which I definitely could agree with or understood. Like he talked about how he thought he would never date anybody even into college because he's just like, the thought of a woman seeing me naked was so terrifying. I would never want to do that. And so that can also really get in your head, and you kind of have to, especially if you have like trust issues about that stuff, that can also be really scary. And I think too, like the exercising more, or just like finding, not getting into great shape or anything, but just being active more. Even if you're not like losing weight or with a specific fitness goal in mind, just being active more reminds you that you have a body and you're not just like thinking about it in the abstract.
Right. It's very easy for people with internal lives, and I'm going to use this word non-dismissively, but like nerds and dorks, to think of themselves as there's you and then there's your body. Like I have a brain, and that's the golden center of me, and that's where the source of any of my praise or any of my like advantages or talents are. And then there's my body, which is this dumb robot that carries it around. And that's that's a way to pathologize your body. So like being active is going to help you not do that if that's, an issue. Another thing that I want to address though with the letter is that might not be an issue. This person might not have confidence issues. It can be bad luck. And that sounds like, 30 years, that can't be bad luck. Yes, it can. Like depending on where you live, a lot of times, like you can meet somebody who is perfect for you in circumstances. Like a lot of things have to go right to get into a good, successful relationship. Like both people have to be approachable with that. They have to like actually meet, which is difficult. Because never think that because something hasn't happened, it can't. Yeah. There's capacity.
And I mean, last thing I'll say is that I think the last question, like, should I stop trying and be happy as I am? I mean, there are people who like they never are in a relationship in their life and they are happy. But if you're starting to feel lonely and wish you had somebody to share it with, like Ralph Nader seems like a very happy guy who's never been in a relationship for his whole life. But if you're starting to feel lonely and you wish you had someone to share it with, like that,
you've already answered that question.
Yeah,
I agree.
like then you can't. Then it doesn't sound like ultimately you are happy staying alone. Like I had those feelings too of just like, well, I do like the freedom of being alone, but boy, this comedy show I just went to would have been a lot more fun if I was leaving this with a partner who we could talk about this with. Instead, I'm walking away alone, and it just moments like that kind of really deflate just anything in life without a partner in it.
Yeah, and I also want to point out too, just for the writer, is that like that feeling is not something that you feel, and people who are more like quote unquote this is the wrong word, but like successful romantically don't feel. Right. So people have been in relationships, those relationships end, most relationships end. They have long periods of feeling the same way that you feel, not for as long or anything like that, but you're feeling a very human thing. It's not something that you're a special weirdo who feels that thing. Like this is part of the human condition. I'm not saying that to say buck up. I'm saying that in solidarity, like your friends, like probably, even if they're with somebody now, probably know how you're feeling. I know how you're feeling. Like we know how you're feeling with that. So don't feel alone in that. Know that it's something you can get past and push through because everybody does.
And I think ultimately you should not feel shame.
Absolutely not.
About any of this. For sure, and I think we're all rooting for you too.
Yeah, you will be. You have. I can never say whether someone's going to be okay because a lot of that is luck. But you have capacity to be okay. You should not. Being hopeless is the wrong kind of posture for this. And as you kind of start taking steps and feeling a little bit better, that will help in general. You'll project more of that.
And also say 30 is young.
Yeah,
and
30 is absolutely young.
I think everyone is just a raging shithead in their 20s, and maybe it's good that you're starting at 30.
Well, and like in American society, the feeling like if you've not had sexual experience in your 20s, then you may as well not be a person. You're not a real person yet. Like, which is that is bad messaging in our society.
Like I had sex sooner than I should have because of pressures, to that, and like got into a relationship with somebody I should not have been in a relationship with by any means, because of that kind of thing. There's no governing body to any of this. It just feels like there is. Like movies and TV are not models. Like they do not measure yourself to those things. So that 40-year-old virgin movie that did so much harm.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad this guy did not run with it in the direction so many. I don't know the gender or whatever. I'm sorry, but a lot of people run with this idea and they become angry, and this person does not seem angry, and that's good. So I would say you have that going for you at least. You did not make this your identity and hate whatever you're going after as something that you are owed or that you deserve. I appreciate that you are doing very well if this is your takeaway from your situation and you're not angry and online yelling at people because of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's tons of hope for you.
Yeah.
You're not hopeless. That is about all of the time that we have here on Heartbeat City. Bob, you first. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, hit me up at Bob Servo. That's basically it.
And Henry?
I'm on Twitter at HENEREYG, where you'll see me comment on things and try to stay happy.
We're all just trying to stay happy.
That's true.
As always, if you have questions for Heartbeat City, you can call in and leave us a message at 1-502-69-HBEAT, or you can write in at Gary@Duckfeed.tv. And until next time, keep on feeling.
Heartbeat City is intended for advice only and is not responsible for the consequences of following any such advice. If you have questions for Heartbeat City, please call in at 502-69-HBEAT or write in at gary@duckfeed.tv. Heartbeat City is produced by Boxer Kwan and Bryce Salad. Thank you.